What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. If this is your first video here on the channel, please consider subscribing and ring that notification bell so when new stuff comes out, you'll get notified. Today we're going to talk about camp chair hacks. The first one specifically is a ground sheet. The ground sheet camp chair hack is designed to keep your chair from sinking in either the snow, sand, or even just soft ground. Now, I can't take credit for this. It wasn't my idea. A gentleman by the name of Justin on the channel It's Good in the Woods puts out some really great stuff. Sometimes it's how-to stuff, sometimes it's reviews, and sometimes it's just all around tripping. So it's great stuff. I'm going to put the link in the description to his video so you can check it out, you know, where you saw it first. I'm just doing this in hopes that it gets the idea out there. I've also got a second hack that I'm going to put in at the end of this video, so that's going to be my contribution to the camp chair hack challenge. So stick around, it should be pretty great. I picked up a tarp from a local Ocean State job lot. You could probably grab them at Dollar Tree or any other sort of hardware stores. This one was about $4. As you can see, the eyelet's already fallen out of it. I haven't even used it yet. But it should do the trick. It's not nearly as nice as the one in the original video, but we're gonna just do something quick and make sure it works, and then I'll start investing in making them a little bit better. So first thing I did was just put some pieces of wood down. This was a little windy out. Take the assembled camp chair. In this case, it's an REI quote-unquote ultralight hiking chair or backpacking chair. Be careful not to move the base, and just trace the outside perimeter using a Sharpie and a straight edge or ruler. Make sure you don't move it, because if you do, it could throw it all off. So get to the parts you can get, but because of the little rubber knobs on there, you won't be able to get all the way across. But you're just going to get this done, and then we're going to move the chair and then connect the dots after. With the chair removed, you can go ahead and run the lines all the way outside of that box. I did it about 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches. This is going to provide the border later on for us to fold it up and tape it. So just do it about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, depending on your chair. I just went ahead and extended them a little bit further. I was just a little worried it wasn't going to be large enough, so I ran them outside the box a little bit further. Then I went ahead and measured that 1.5 inches past each outside line, which we're going to obviously run a straight edge across afterwards, but do that all the way around so you have that 1.5 to 2 inch border outside the initial square or the inside square. As you could have guessed, we're going to go ahead and connect those lines now using our straight edge or our ruler. It helps if you have a really new or fresh Sharpie doing this. The tarp doesn't take the ink very well. Mine wasn't that great, so just FYI. Try to use a nice new fresh Sharpie if you can. There's that grommet in my way, move that. And here is what we have after. You can kind of see the pattern here. You have that initial square, and then you have about 1.5 inches border on the outside edges. Now just go ahead and cut it out. Be pretty careful. You want to make sure this is nice and clean, and just cut out those outside edges. Now we're just going to go ahead and cut these little corners out. You definitely want to make sure that you don't overlap and cut into the flaps or the folds, because we're going to fold these up and tape them. These are going to be our side walls, so just be a little careful with that and make them nice and clean. I went ahead and just pulled off 3 or 4 pieces of duct tape that I could use to tack the corners while I worked with it. Just a couple of short pieces. Just doing a quick check, make sure everything lines up. This is a pretty tight fit. I would have liked it to be a little bit looser, so I could have folded the edges up and made it nice and snug, but it ended up working out. You know, just be mindful of your personal taste. So I went ahead, took the chair out. Then I went and took the 3 or 4 pieces, or the 4 pieces that I had pre-cut, laid them underneath, pressed the tarp down over them, and then just went ahead and folded the sides up using the seams, just lined them right up, just like a box. Just doing a quick little test fit, making sure everything fits okay. And now we're going to pull down some strips of our duct tape about the same length as each side, and just go ahead and lay them down flat, lay it over it. I left the top of the duct tape a tiny bit higher than the side of the ground sheet so that I could fold it over the top, as you can see I'm doing here, just to provide a little bit of extra strength to the edge of that tarp, since it was such poor quality and, you know, lightweight. Just wrapping up the last edge here on the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and start pulling off pieces of duct tape to reinforce the corners where the feet of the chair are going to rest. I decided to go ahead and do it twice, basically just to add some extra protection for the ground sheet, because the tarp was, you know, so light, like I had said. So we get that last corner reinforced, we're going to go ahead and double check and make sure the chair fits. I skipped the step where they pinched the corners, and Justin tightened it up a little bit because it was a pretty snug fit, so I didn't do that on mine. Also, mine doesn't double as a case because my chair is different than the Helinox. It just doesn't work out that way. The base and the pipes don't line up to the dimensions of the foot or the feet. So then I just went ahead and reinforced the outside corners with some duct tape, because why not? And here is my completed ground sheet. I don't have a sandbox, but I do have a pretty poor lawn, and it turns out it works just fine. Now on to hack number 2. I go ahead and took my constructed chair and put it on its side, or however you want to look at it, upside down basically, so that I could get some idea as to its size. Then I just went ahead and marked it, and then I went a few inches past that, and you'll see why here in a few minutes. Went ahead and cut that out, and I just went with the line to cut it off square. I did move into the garage for this one because I am going to need some electricity, so excuse the mess. We are going to use a heat gun for this. This is half-inch PVC pipe, schedule 40, and this is, I believe, 3/4 inch CPVC shark bite pipe. So they're basically the same inner and outer dimensions, they're just labeled differently. Pretty inexpensive. I just went ahead and took a section of the pipe, placed it through the loop on my chair, just so I could get some sort of an idea as to how high I was going to want this thing. Go ahead and just sit in it, and just made a note. I used the markings already on the pipe to figure out where I was going to terminate the backrest. I just used the PVC pipe cutters to score it where I wanted the length so that I could make the other side match. Next, I went ahead and just cut it off where I had previously scored it, and then I cut the other side to match. I went ahead and just picked a random spot to cut them. They're not exactly cut in half, but since they match, it really doesn't matter. I'm doing this modification here to the pipe so that we can break them down and they take up less space. So now you have 4 lengths basically that all match. Then we have an additional piece of piping that is much smaller and is very close to the inside diameter of the larger pipes. We're going to use this to make some couplings or some connectors, sort of like a cheapo tent pole. I used some aluminum foil to make a little budget heat trough. Use the heat gun. It takes a couple of minutes to heat up the larger diameter pipe, but you'll notice that it's ready when it starts to flex as you rotate the piping. Bob's your uncle. You can slide in the smaller diameter pipe inside the larger diameter pipe, and once it cools, it's set in there pretty well. So we're going to go ahead and do the other one now. And there you go. We just made our pipe connectors. Super lightweight, packable, and hopefully this works. I just connected both of the pipes using the connectors we just made. Set them through the 2 hoops at the back of my chair just to see how they fell. Looked like it was a pretty good height. No, just below the top of my head is where I wanted it. Then I just went ahead and took the square piece that we had cut off earlier and tacked it together with a couple of pieces of duct tape and rolled it up a little bit. I just ripped off 3 tabs of tape on each side, laid them underneath the tarp, pressed the tarp down on top of them, and then rolled the pipe across them, basically to connect the pipe to the tarp sheet that I had just cut, like you used to see the you know, old school flags made that way. They were sort of just taped to a pole and then rolled up a little bit, you know, when you were a crossing guard back in the day. Having it face this way worked okay, but the distance from the tarp to the back of the pipe was a little bit better once I turned it around. It made for a better fit, so I went ahead and turned it around and positioned the pipes as best I could on the bottom and fixed problem number 2. I was tired of not having a headrest or being able to lean back in my camp chair. Well, that's it, everybody. The second hack didn't turn out so great, but I've already got some ideas on how to correct that. Be sure to check out Justin's video. He did a much better job with the first hack. Again, links in the description. I just wanted to do a hasty version of it because I am going to be using my chair very soon, and it's a fantastic idea. I always sink in the sand, and this should fix that right up. So, hack number 1 was successful. Totally his idea. Number 2 was me trying to contribute to the community and sort of build on the idea. And we're going to give that another crack. I'm going to take some more time to do it. Again, I think a 90-degree elbow where those two meet will apply tension on the top as they pass through the rings and make that backrest tight. It'll also give me a place to set some weight to counterbalance it so it won't be so top heavy. But it was a pretty poor attempt, but we'll get better at it. So we'll talk to you soon.